I'm Charles Schwab. I'm so happy to be here with Cliff Weitzman, the founder of Speechify, and I think he has a way to help all of us read more and read faster. My investing in smaller companies certainly is where I get to know the entrepreneur, and certainly in Cliff's case, it was particularly important to me. I thought, man, this could really help a lot of people. I was really attracted to the thoughts, the idea about Speechify, and what you could do for people like myself. How could you speed up my reading capability was really intriguing to me. But I think you've done it. So it's the decoding process that I was really slow about and learning how to do that. And what Speechify is taking out one of the functions I had of decoding regular words, and I could do it much more quickly that way. So books on tape I found very interesting, but your ability to take it one step further to speed up the word processing of that so I could actually learn more quickly, and I could end up reading maybe at 250 words a minute instead of 160 or something like that. And then, of course, Speechify has the ability to really almost double that if you develop a skill in listening to how Speechify is able to increase the speed by a little slider, which is really handy.
Yeah. So for me, I fall into this category. I was reading at about 140 words per minute, but I listen at between 600 and 800 words per minute. And what we find is most people who start using Speechify in the first few months will build up listening at 350, 450 words per minute.
Just think of what you're able to read then, and then you can increase the speed. You're going to be able to get through material so much more quickly than you ever were before.
And now you are obviously an inspiration to many people like me, and we're getting the chance to sit here with people like you, like Dax Shepard, like Richard Branson. Do you feel Speechify is also potentially useful for other people who work in your company who don't have learning disabilities?
Well, I think it's helpful for anybody who wants to speed up their reading capability. I mean, there's so many wonderful things to read. That's how we all garner information for the most part. I think dyslexia for me early on sort of gave me the thinking that I wasn't good at everything. It made me, I think, more humble as a person, and I could surround myself with a lot of people really smarter than I was. I've made them feel comfortable so we could work together as a team. I knew where to go. I had the passion, the vision, and I had other people help me make that happen. And so it helped me build teams. And I think my humility was attractive to other people. They thought they could help me too, also make the team function better.
What about you, Cliff? How has it affected you?
I think for me, if you're thrown in this situation where you're 9 years old, you can't learn how to read, you're failing at the one thing you're supposed to do. You have this dichotomy where either you become the 40% of billionaires who are dyslexic, or the half of people in prisons who have learning disabilities. And so you develop not necessarily IQ or EQ, but AQ, adversity quotient. And I think for me and many other people who sit in my shoes, that ability that you hone as an 8, 9, 10-year-old of never giving up, of just, even though it seems impossible, I'm gonna have this optimism that I will succeed. It's the core to everything I do, not even just in my business, but everything in my life. And I attributed much of that to having to overcome dyslexia when I was young.
I think, Cliff, you're bringing up a very important point about studies have been made about people in prison, and half of those people that are in prisons have started out in life and still have dyslexia. And they lose their pathway in school and get bored with school or not get the appropriate attention, and so they don't end up learning how to read very well or writing very well, and they deviate their activities into bad things. It could be drugs, it could be all kinds of issues, how they end up in prison.
For me, one special thing has been, so I learned English when I was 12 from Harry Potter audiobooks. And that's when I fell in love with listening and reading. And ever since then, I've listened to an average of 2 books a week. And I've done that for about 15 years now. And so I've consumed far north of 1,000 books. And one of my favorite types of books are biographies. And I read an ungodly amount of biographies.
That's what I did too when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Biographies, I love that. I like the successful people. I want to know about how they did it.
How they did it, exactly. But of all those biographies that I've read, One of my favorite of all time is Chuck's new book. And it was very, very easy for me to read because the story felt so much like mine. Because in the first few chapters, you talk about your experience being young and having dyslexia. And I ended up feeling a very strong resonance. And I think for anybody who tries this book, in the beginning, you see how you started and how much you struggled. And it's like anybody can level up to this level, and you can see the level of grit you applied. And also, there's all these little levers that you pulled in your business throughout whether it be how you fundraised, how you hired, when you sold, when you bought the business back, across such a big period of time, and it's used by so many people, that was really inspiring for me to read.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the compliment about the book. It took a lot of 40 years to put it all together,
Yeah.
to say the least, the story. But it is a story of an entrepreneur and a passionate entrepreneur.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks very much.